I'm gonna fill everybody in on the G2 buck. I've got hundreds of questions about the G2 buck. Where is he? What happened? Why aren't you hunting him? How did he disappear? All these different questions. And his story officially ended actually last week. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill everybody in on the Nazareth Road famous G2 buck. Obviously, he's named the G2 buck for his 10-inch G2s. Actually, it's 10 and a half, almost 11-inch G2s. So the story actually started 4 years ago. It's a 4.5-year-old deer, and you guys didn't come to know him till last year when he was a 3.5-year-old, like this buck right here. I had multiple encounters with him with a bow, and was never able to close the deal with him. The same night Vern shot his really big 8-point, I had this buck at 45 yards, dog a doe in front of me, and I just never got an opening and never could get a shot at him. So then the next sighting of him was during rifle season, the same night that I shot the buck that I call Ghost, 18-inch wide 8-point, nice deer. This buck, the G2 buck, came running out after I shot that deer out across the field and stopped on the edge of the field. He was confused. He heard the gunshot go off, and he was spending all of his time with Ghost. And he just ran across the field and stood there. And of course, I would rather have shot the G2 buck than Ghost, but I just filled my buck tag. Ghost was laying there dead in the field. So, anyways, he went running off, and then 2 nights later, Kaylee was up there hunting, and we had this buck, the G2 buck, come out in the food plot just after legal shooting light, and I couldn't get, my video camera wouldn't focus because it was just a little bit too dark, and legally you couldn't shoot it anyways. And that ended up happening 2 or 3 more times. This deer would come out right after legal shooting light. So Kaylee held off on him, obviously, and that was pretty much it. I really thought that last year he'd come out during legal light at some point and get a shot at him, but you know, I wasn't that upset that we didn't get to kill him last year, knowing what I thought he was going to turn into this year. So that brings us to this year, and actually I got pictures of him all summer long right where he is, and his home range actually shrunk really small. Like, this deer did not leave a little section of woods that was bigger than 300 yards by 300 yards. He lived in that spot and pretty much fed, he only fed in one area, which is right in the back of our fields up here. And so that brings us to the 1st of October. And as everybody seen the video, I hunted with my recurve with Zane in the corner of one of my food plots up there, up at our gas well piece, and I actually videotaped the G2 buck, as you can see right here, come out on my food plot across the field from me with the buck that I call Acorn, which all the neighbors know now is Busted Rack. Him and Busted Rack pretty much stayed together all summer long and all fall long until the G2 buck's demise. But they came out and fed all throughout the food plot up there and stuff. And where this deer is coming out is super hard for me to hunt because I always have a wind coming out of the southwest, which means if I hunt that food plot, my wind's blowing right into his bedding area and where he's coming from. So it's a really finicky area, and with a buck, a 4.5-year-old buck like the G2 buck, you can't go in there and blow him out with your scent, and then you're not going to get another opportunity at him. So I was very careful about what I was hunting up there and where I was going. I did not want him to know I was hunting him or anything like that. And to be honest with you, I was very passive with him because I knew if I left him alone, he would stay there, and Kaylee and I, or one of us, would no doubt about it kill him on one of them food plots with a rifle. I mean, he was living out there, so I had no worry about it at all. The only worry was that he might leave during the rut and get shot somewhere, which in the end is kind of what happened. So I ended up seeing him, my next sighting of him was October 25th, and that was actually right from the house during the middle of the day. He was dogging the doe down in the red brush right below the house down here, and I couldn't get any video of him then because I saw him and I hit him with a spot and scope up there, and I could see that it was a G2 buck, and I got the camera, and by the time I got the camera, he was gone. So October 25th was the last time I seen him on the hoof alive. So that brings us to the morning of Halloween, October 31st. And I was hunting over at Slavis because I already shot my deer in New York with a bow. And got a text from one of my buddies that he thought that he might have possibly shot the G2 buck. He said it was a really big deer with long tines, and of course I knew instantly that that had to have been the G2 buck. There's not another deer, or wasn't another deer in that woods that would match that buck at that point. Bruce Lee ended up moving in later on, but he actually got the shot on video, and the woods he was hunting was on the back side of a block from where these fields are. So it really wasn't that far away from where this deer was living. But October 31st, you know, these big deer are up on their feet and looking for receptive does. So anyways, the shot was straight down out of this tree, as you can see on the video. And the reason he shot when he did was that he thought that the deer was getting onto him. He had stopped and was looking around, so he didn't know if this deer, the G2 buck, was starting to wind him and was about to run off or what. So he thought that his opportunity was now or never. So he sent that arrow right through in between his shoulder blades. As you can see on the video, it's kind of hard because the camera's mounted to the bow and shook a lot. But in all honesty, if I was given the same exact shot that he took, I would have put the arrow pretty much in the same spot that he did. Maybe I would have had it a little bit farther back instead of forward. But I mean, that's pretty much the shot you have at that distance. And in all honesty, a straight down shot is a super hard shot. Even if you do number them, you're only going to get one lung. You can't hit two lungs when you're shooting straight down. You're going to put it right through one lung. So best case scenario, you one lung and possibly get them in the heart. But anyways, it looked like a lethal shot when we watched the video back. So we got down, and I actually went up and helped him track him, and horrible blood trail, clearly because the broadhead hit him straight down on the back, as you can see on the video. So he only had one hole, and that was straight up. So when he was running, we did have a little blood here and there, and we found a leaf that did have blood on it, and you could see bubbles in it. So I thought for sure, you know, it's a lung. He hit a lung, that deer's dead. And we tracked it till we couldn't find any more blood, and unfortunately it started pouring that morning around 11 o'clock noon. And anyways, my buddy went in there, and we pretty much grid searched everything. We had looked and looked and looked. Anyways, we never found him, and I was just crossing my fingers he'd show back up on a trail camera up there, you know, doing fine without you know, getting over his injury and everything. That never happened. I never got another picture of him the whole entire time, so I knew that arrow killed that deer, and it was just a matter of finding him. And so anyways, the whole hunt season goes by. Last week I get a text message from one of my buddies, another neighbor, from totally opposite side of the block. Where my buddy shot this deer and where the deer was found was just under a mile from where the shot took place. And he sent me a picture of it, and I looked at it and was like, oh my gosh. Nazareth Road legend is dead and has been found. So I'll show you the pictures of him dead right now for you. And he ended up dying in the red brush and went just under a mile from where the shot was. And I do think that he didn't die that day. I think it took him a week or two to die. And so that's the story of the G2 buck. It's really unfortunate how it played out, and how he finally ended up, you know, getting shot, or dying actually. I mean, it's a trophy buck. The buck's not going to score 140 inches or 130 or whatever. It's the fact that we had all this history with this deer, and this deer made it to 4.5 years old, and you know, it's just a mature buck. And getting a mature buck like that around here is a really big feat. And like I was telling my buddy that shot it, even getting a deer like that at 8 yards is an amazing feat. To fool all his senses and get a shot at him that close is, you've accomplished something. You know, the whole thing was just unfortunate. I would really like to see him, you know, just smoke it and it run 50 yards and tip over dead, and then the deer would have got the respect that it should have. And it is what it is. It's archery hunting, you know. I've made bad shots and I've hit deer in lethal areas and I've never found them. It is what it is. You're gonna make bad shots. That's part of archery hunting. But as long as you do everything you can in your power to follow up on that shot, which he did and we did and everybody else did, looking for this deer. It's just unfortunate, like I said before. But the reality of it is, I'm happy whenever any of my neighbors kill a mature deer, because I actually feel like I was involved with it. Just like a G2 buck or Bruce Lee or all these deer. These are deer that have come out on my food plots in years past and let walk. So you know that when they kill a deer like that, of that magnitude, you know you were part of it. And they were too. A lot of my neighbors don't shoot these little bucks. And so it's rewarding for everybody to shoot big deer like this. And the more little bucks that you let go, the more big bucks like this you're gonna get to shoot every year. And all your neighbors are gonna get to shoot every year. So it's just rewarding. The whole thing's rewarding, letting bucks get like that. But I know you guys have been dying to hear the story on the G2 buck, and there's the story. The G2 buck is no longer, but it was a fun couple of years hunting them, and you can do everything you possibly can to try to put the odds in your favor and plant the food plot and stay out of your woods and hunt the right wind and do everything you possibly can to try to make things work for you. But in the end, it's a deer, a free-ranging white-tailed deer, and they're gonna do whatever the heck they want to do. This buck could have been 2 blocks away in the matter of a night. It's no different than Bruce Lee. I have pictures of Bruce Lee on my food plot at 6:45 in the morning before he got shot across the road behind the house, leaving a woods that never got pressured. I never walked in that woods ever. Going into a woods that gets pressured very, very much. So it's just like, it's a wild deer. You can't. They're gonna do whatever they're gonna do, and there's nothing you can do to stop it other than try to put all the cards in your favor. And when it comes together, it comes together, and it is worth it when it does come together. But you're happy to see your neighbors kill them too. So I hope everybody enjoyed the video, and I hope people will stop asking me about the G2 buck, because the story, case closed. G2 buck's gone. I'll see you on tomorrow's hunt, and then I'm gonna set some fox and coyote traps. I appreciate everybody watching.